Okay, this is gonna be the story on Vaughn and how things came about as far as like him coming to me and also tapping into his actual story as well and like what happened to him. For me, it first started when I guess it had to be like the first day or two of him passing away. Previous to, I had really not heard of anything about him. Maybe like years ago when I was in high school, my sister may have listened to like his songs. But for the most part, like I had not heard anything about him or knew of him. Yeah, I saw Vaughn a lot on my page, and it got to the point where he began to manipulate like the electronics around me, like his songs would come on, and I would just constantly see him. And it's like, yeah, of course, because he had just passed, that's more than likely, you know, to come about. But at the same time, it was like a little different. It was just something about it. And so when I had finally heard him speak to me, like I was a little like skeptical about it, and at first I would shut his energy out because that was the first celebrity to have come to me, and me knowing spiritual discernment, I wanted to just make sure it was him first before I allowed him within my energy space. And so basically he proceeds to tell me about how Dirk had backstabbed him and how he wanted me to make a Twitter account because all of his people was on Twitter. And so I listened to what he said and I made the Twitter account, and at first I'm just doing my coding and exposing little shit about Dirk or whatever the case is. And at the time I was also trying to get his other baby mother's attention, and not only that but also the attention of Asian as well, because he kept telling me to like just keep trying, that someone was going to answer to him eventually, like was going to answer to me. And so eventually Asian texted me and asked me like what was I on or something like that. And so I began to like explain to her the shit that happened to Vaughn or whatever. And as y'all see in the text messages, she was playing the victim role and also exposing a lot of stuff as far as Dirk and what happened. And basically, yeah, so with Asian, in the beginning I did believe her, mainly because again Vaughn told me to go on Twitter. He told me to that someone would reach out to me. So in the beginning I'm thinking from the perspective of that, you know, he had to trust her or whatever. But the more that time went on, I see that it was more so just a trap for her to expose not only their hand but her hand as well, and for me to have the physical evidence and the physical proof for the people who try to be like, where's the proof, you know. And even still then, people still try to debunker the messages, which you're gonna have your non-believers, fuck them. But yeah, so that's how that went about. Once I began to catch on to Asian, her energy towards me shifted, because I remember speaking to her and telling her how I felt that she was like moving a little funny, and if she so-called was so scared of them or knew what they did, like why are you working with them? You know, if your loyalty lies with Vaughn, would you not want to get his message out there? Like, should you not, if you have the platform to be able to speak the truth, why would you not do that if you so-called was his rider, you know? And basically once I did catch on, that's when I exposed her as well. And it wasn't coming from a place of me trying to clout chase or anything like that. I'm strictly doing exactly what Vaughn asked of me, as I do with any spirit. His situation is no different. Just because he was a celebrity or whatever the case is, his story still deserves to be heard, and I'm gonna put in the same effort that I do with him, with any other spirit that comes to me, that's assigned to me, I should say. So with that being said, we're gonna tap into the actual story on what happened to him and some of the things that he told me. I want to start off with his autopsy. They exposed his autopsy as a way to kind of put the rest of the rappers in their place. It was kind of like a warning to anyone else who decided to step out of line, or that they were not going to follow the rule basis of what they wanted, that this would happen to you as well. So that was their point of exposing his body. It is this witch. Again, I'm going to make a separate segment on just these witches and who they are. But inside of this morgue is where this ritual took place. And it's probably not even a real morgue. I'm going to say that. It's probably some type of secret place that they have. But I remember seeing everything was like white out. Like it was white everywhere. And they had different rooms. And so I remember seeing a witch was there. She was like standing over his body or whatever. And at this time was whenever I was able to see in my astral state, they took his heart out and placed it in something. I remember seeing people also like dancing around his body as this like ritual was going on. There were other people dancing around his body. There was also a fire in the background. I think it was like in this certain room there was like a fireplace or like a chimney or something, and they had it going at the time. I remember also seeing them cutting pieces of his flesh out, and I'm not sure of their reasoning for doing that as far as cutting pieces of his flesh. I'm picking up it could have something to do with the DNA, like them actually trying to take on parts of him to continue to harvest his energy as his spirit lives on. I also remember seeing them drain his blood and then consume it as well. Yeah, they were drinking his blood, not all of them. I know for a fact Dirk was there as well. He was in another room. He was not able to participate during a ritual. At the time, the witch had summoned his spirit back to his body, or like back towards his body, so that she can then trap him. I do remember at a point in time, Von did seem to be like trapped somewhere, or it was like I would always go to a certain place to visit him. This place, he would always like sit on this bench, and eventually later I had seen a video of someone saying that they came across King Von's grave site, and I remember he didn't go inside, but he put the camera around, and I remember seeing a bench on the inside of it. So I just took that as that's where I would go to speak with his spirit at the time. And it also gave me the energy of maybe they put some type of symbols on the outside of the tombstone to where they can keep his energy stuck in that area. I remember he was also talking to me about the party. There was a party that he was invited to, and this party was like some type of like orgy party, and I remember he just kept saying to me, "Dirt gay," or whatever. But yeah, it was some type of orgy party that they invited him to, but at the time he didn't know that that's what the party was about. It was like a couple of higher ups there, and he thought that he was supposed to have been going to like meet these people and just celebrate, you know? So when he got there and he realized that this was on some whole other shit, I feel like that was his first time being introduced to like the demonic and reptilian behalf of it. There is also a picture of Vaughn with this woman. I may just leave it as the cover photo for this video, but there was a picture of this woman who was with Vaughn at the time, and you can tell and see in his eyes that he was very hurt and like looked like he had been crying. Not only that, but the woman gave me very much so reptilian vibes. Like the energy I was picking up from her was that she was soulless, and I feel like what he had told me, that she had shapeshifted herself in front of him, which was, and then was forced to take the picture, if I'm not mistaken. He didn't sign any contracts that night though, and I feel like, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe a couple of days later was like his death day. But it was because of the fact that he had seen all that he did, and he did not still choose to like take that route. I remember him telling me as well, when they took his heart, they wanted to keep it fresh. So parts of his body. He told me they took the left leg, the right arm, the brain, and something within the stomach area. And this was to basically continue to harvest his energy. Yeah. See, only the higher ups fed off him. Yeah. His blood was pure. He also wants me to tap into Kayla as well, and the fact that basically Dirk had trapped Kayla at a party and made her have sex with him. After that, I believe that she fell in love with him, or she started thinking that she loved him, or whatever the case was, and this is what initiated her turning on her brother as well. They offered her a deal, which I explained this in some of my Facebook posts, that they offered her a deal and she took it, which was something about like a rap career and her creating an image and a name for herself. Not only that, but I feel like she was scared of the energy with the industry, which is why she submitted to them as well. Vaughn wasn't with that shit at all. He wasn't with the shit. He wasn't with that gay shit, none of that. And I'm not meaning to offend anyone. This just how Vaughn's talking, so it is what it is. He also wanted to mention about how, I remember Asian explaining to me how she had at least 2 or 3 miscarriages or whatever. At the time, I felt like something was a little fishy about it, but I ignored it. And then he proceeds to tell me later on that at least 1 or 2 of them she did sacrifice. And if she did have 2 miscarriages, she sacrificed at least 1 of them. But if she had 3, then she sacrificed 2 to get where she is. And what's crazy about it is that 2 of them had been Vaughn's children, or would have been his children. And she said to me that he didn't want to have kids, or she felt like he wouldn't have wanted to have kids with her, so that was her reasoning behind it. But I feel like that's a lie, a cover-up lie at that. Why would Vaughn not want his kids? You feel me? Like, make it make sense, especially if he supposedly loved you. You were the one tricking off on him, you know, in many ways. He also mentioned to me something about a clock, something about the Donna video, FBG Duck. FBG Duck, he died from exposing too much. He was a sacrifice as well. He wants everyone to know that. It's something about the 3 a.m. video. If I'm not mistaken, that 3 a.m. video, Kayla was in it. But I would have to go back and relook at it to make sure. Because again, for the most part, I'm more on the spiritual side. I don't too much follow with the music or, the industry and stuff like that. Vaughn highlighted his kids. I feel like he is worried about his children, and who are they in the hands and care of. He don't want his child around Kayla at all. He don't want his kids around Kayla. I'm hearing in my head that be foul. So yeah. That night, Dirk was also given power from the night that they did the ritual around his body. Some of that power was given to Dirk for him to continue on his works of sacrificing and things like that. He wants to become some type of major, like, you know, like how he referred to himself as the voice, like, I guess. But I remember Dirk was in, I seen him in all black. The witch was getting a high off of Vaughn's blood at the time as well. She was like the main person, or I say the head of the chain.